What's going on, everybody? Happy freaking Friday, and welcome to another edition of the Better Baseball MLB DFS podcast here at Fantasy Alarm on the Better Sports Network. I am James Grande, and I'm joined by a special guest, the Tim Tebow package user in Madden. For anyone that remembers the package in Madden where you had three running backs around Tebow, Howard was just explaining to me that he was a big fan of that package. Howard, what's going on, brother? Happy Friday, first off. And I'm proud of you that somebody had to use Tebow out there. I mean, no one better than you.
Listen, I never used Tebow. I never did. I just you got to customize it. You trade him for somebody else, you use the same package.
True. That's true. That's true. Boy,
I'm doing well, man. I got a big old slate of baseball here. There's a lot of great pitching out there. I feel like the Friday slate, main slate, is going to be a doozy.
It's going to be a doozy indeed. A 7:05 Eastern Standard start. Late night hammer is your 10:10 game, and Howard gets to go to bed before that game even wraps up at 10 o'clock and tucked in and nice and tight. John and I were just talking about this the other night. The West Coast has it. You guys have it so nice over there. But Howard, you did mention a lot of the rotations are turning back to the top. We have the names like deGrom, Castillo, Valdez, Nola, Bieber. The list goes on and on. And all those guys are pretty big favorites in terms of Vegas. When you take a look at some of the lines, do you have Vegas open, Howard? Do you want to take a look with me at like anything you see that like pops to you? The biggest favorite that I see as it currently stands, let's see, is Minnesota on this main slate, or are they day baseball? They're day baseball.
Yeah, they're day baseball. I'm going to pull up some odds right now here so we can kind of pop through and see what we got for tomorrow. I'm looking over it. I've got DraftKings open on fantasy. So because I'm in California, I can't open the DraftKings fantasy page along with the betting odds. So I got to shift over here to our good friends over at BetMGM and talk about what we got going on over there for tomorrow. So
yeah, Jacob, I think deGrom is the biggest favorite from what I see. Minus 180 on DraftKings Sportsbook, minus 190 on BetMGM there, Howard, against the Yankees, who, by the way, lost Aaron Judge to right hip discomfort on Thursday night. He exited the game, and the Yankees have officially announced right hip discomfort, which is discomforting as a Yankees fan, Howard.
Well, at least he didn't break his wrist sliding into third that time.
That is also true. Maybe the head first slide. We did all these rule changes. Maybe head first slide could have been part of the equation as well.
But he was wearing his mitten.
He was wearing his mitten. That is correct. What else do you see? Anything else that stands out? Money line.
Listen, I mean, Framber Valdez against Philadelphia. We got Houston's minus 160 on the money line over there. I don't see anything that's really that outlandish. I think you're right. I mean, I think I'm looking at a minus 150 for Eflin's pitching for Tampa against the White Sox. Yep. And I think that's, I mean, if you were just looking at Vegas odds for the night slate, I think those are probably the bigger favorites.
Those are the bigger favorites. It is worth mentioning, Howard. It is a Coors Field slate on Friday. So we have 11.
What's the stupid pitching matchup for that?
We have Merrill Kelly on the hill for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and we have the Rockies sending Kyle Freeland to the mound.
You know what? That's actually a pretty good pitching matchup considering Coors.
That is. The run total is currently, it opened up at 11.5. So that is obviously the slate high. There are only other game environments that are even decent. We have the Angels and the Brewers. Mm-hmm. Tyler Anderson, Wade Miley, that's opened up at 9. Has pretty much remained there. And then the Guardians and the Red Sox currently sit at 9. DraftKings, I guess it's been bet down 8.5. BetMGM 8.5, but I see 9 over on FanDuel Sportsbook, Caesar Sportsbook. So those 3 games currently sitting with the 9 over unders or better. Obviously, the Rockies, Diamondbacks just naturally, right, are just gonna be 11.5. But let's dive into things, Howard. It looks like we could have some weather potentially in this Pittsburgh Washington game that kicks off the slate, but we will obviously have our weather center updated over at fantasyalarm.com throughout the day. So check for that right after you listen to this podcast or while you're listening to the podcast, because that's, technology is amazing and it can let you open a new tab. Let's head to pitching, where we mention it. We are not shy for elite starting pitching. We have Jacob deGrom facing an anemic Yankees offense of late. Luis Castillo heading into Toronto in a pretty tough spot. Framber Valdez facing the Philadelphia Phillies. And on the flip side of the game, Aaron Nola, 9,600, facing the Houston Astros. Shane Bieber, 9,300. And I'll throw Eflin in there because he's 9K. But if you were to pick out the one player who doesn't fit in this category, it's Zach Eflin. But talk to me about this 9K and above tier, Howard. The way DeGrom has pitched lately, it's really, really, really hard not to just smash that button.
Yeah, I think if we're looking that high, I definitely I would pay up that kind of money instead of using Castillo. I actually don't mind Valdez as a potential option here. I think that he's actually I'm trying to look up a number or two while I'm examining and whatever, but yeah, Philadelphia Phillies against lefties, the numbers are good. They're not great. So, considering they've had their struggles from time to time, I wouldn't hate on using Valdez. And for some reason or whatever, they can't support Aaron Nola anyway. So, Valdez over Nola for me. I don't mind Eflin. I mind Eflin $9,000 on this. I do. I really do. So I'd probably lean deGrom, then Valdez. I like Eflin in this matchup, but for 9,000, I think I might just kind of, if I'm going to dip down, I should probably dip down a little further,
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think your explanation on it was perfect. I Eflin is good and he's in a good spot, a great spot. I've talked about how much I really hate this White Sox lineup as current. I mean, listen to the fan who went on that Chicago sports station today. I don't know if you heard it, Howard, or on Thursday. It was the best 7 minutes you're ever going to listen to in your life. I'll send it to you after. I'll send it to you after the stream. They let this fan go, and it was you'll understand right after we get off this call. But just can't pay 9K for him. Under 9K, we have Wade Miley, who I think has turned back the clock pretty well this year. Looks very good, but he's going into an Angels offense. Ooh, Howard. What Wade Miley throws from what side of the plate again?
He's a lefty.
Okay, and he's facing off who? The Angels, I think. Is that what it says?
It
Oh,
is.
maybe we'll get to somebody in a couple positions that I may like, or maybe not.
Well, you really built that one up, didn't you?
Yeah, we'll get little teaser there for
I'm gonna, before we even reveal that, I'm just gonna say this. When I crap on Wade Miley, and I do it a lot, I definitely do it a lot. He always then manages to turn in one of those outings. Now, I do love the Angels against the lefty, but he does kind of all of a sudden he steps up for some reason, and he's like Cy Young. Only when I play him or pick him, or pick on him. Like if I stack against him, if I were to stack Angels, if I were to go with like Ward, Trout, and Ohtani and just jam those 3 in there, they would go 0 for 12 with 6 strikeouts. Guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, Wade Miley, 23 innings pitched, 5 earned runs to this point. Guys kind of been nails. I just wanted to point out that we have another secret sauce spot coming in. But there's only 2 8K pitchers, Wiley, Flaherty. I don't think we're going to have much interest in either. Am I right there?
The Dodgers are definitely in some like weird tailspin.
Yeah, they are. Well, Jason Hayward hitting third has been that has been a very interesting approach, I'd say, right? But like with the Dodgers hitting third, does that mean you'd play Flaherty coming off his best start in terms of strikeouts? I'd say, but like still 3 earned, still walking too many people.
Yeah, no, I'm not interested. I'm just saying. I know that the Dodgers. I know where the temptation comes
Right,
from, but I'm
right.
not going to do it. I'm
So
not going to do it. I'm even Dustin May, kind of intrigues me a little bit
agreed.
at 79. But for the same token, you're dealing with a St. Louis lineup that is, they're going through something right now, and they need to really step it up. And I don't want to be using that pitcher
Right,
when Goldschmidt and Arenado and Tyler O'Neill all wake up on the same day. It's
right.
like I'm never going to throw a pitcher against the Padres because at one point that top four of that lineup is just going to destroy. It doesn't matter who the pitcher is. It could be the greatest pitcher of all time, and he's still going to have trouble if that lineup gets hot.
It's a good. I love that. I love that. I think that's a great way to look at things. I will, and I know this is a tough spot, Howard. I don't care. Max Fried is a 9K to 10K pitcher that we're getting at 7,700. Like, I understand the Mets do have some potent bats against lefties. Alonso's crushing them this year. Lindor has historically been good against lefties. But that means no Brett Beatty in the lineup for the Mets, most likely coming off his first career home or his first home run this year um, on Thursday. That means Eduardo Escobar likely in the lineup. That means Tommy Pham likely in the lineup. Like these guys have been terrible for the Mets. Newsflash: Max Fried has allowed 1 earned in 3 starts. I know it's just like obviously a small sample. San Diego, Houston was his last 2 starts. Didn't allow an earned run over his last 11 and 2/3.
Yeah, I'm surprised they've got him, kind of priced down there. I really am. And you know what? When anybody of Freed's caliber is sitting behind Nick Pivetta in cost,
You just
like,
take a shot. You just
well,
take the
'cause
shot.
I also get suspicious though. I'm like, well, what does the algorithm know that I don't know to price a guy of Freed's quality behind, a legit potential gas can like
Fair.
Pivetta?
Fair. Sometimes it's just like, what have you done for me lately? Pavetta coming off, like, I mean, 3 of his 4 starts have been good, where he's actually struck people out. And we know DraftKings is the site, I think, more so than FanDuel, that you really need strikeouts because when you're allowing base runners, you're losing points. Whereas
Yeah.
FanDuel, you can allow bases loaded for 6 straight innings, and if you don't allow an earned run, it's like it never happened, right? So because you end up getting the quality start, you end up not losing any points. Like Freed, for how great, and I mean how great he is not the biggest, does not have the strikeout upside that other guys have on this slate.
No, he does not.
But he
He
keeps
does
the ball
not.
on the ground, he keeps the ball in the park, and
Mhm.
he's gonna more often than not win a game. Like the Mets might lose, might get swept by the Nationals. So, um, you know, it's just hard for me to ignore Freed at that price when all the guys around him are who they are. And speaking of the guys around him, is there anyone else that appeals to you? Like Giolito gets the Rays for
No.
like no
No.
shot. The Rays have a I looked the last I looked, it was 78 runs on Thursday. Um, by the end of the night, it might be 640 runs. The way that they're going. Merrill Kelly's in cores. David Peterson is the most inconsistent pitcher of all time. More likely to stat. Like, where else are you going? Alec Manoa,
Well,
6,900.
I mean, listen,
What?
he blanked the Yankees for 7 innings. I mean, you got a good part of the top end of that lineup for the Yankees. I'm not ready to sell him out. So I don't hate Manoa if he really has turned that corner. I think he's a fantastic pitcher. No,
Agreed.
regardless, he's just it's been a horrible start to the season. Had this great outing against the Yankees, and so it's kind of a, well, let's see what happens. Do I love him really for DFS? 6,900 as a second pitcher
That is crazy.
definitely has some high possibilities there. Especially, I mean, listen, because you're not going to go. Milwaukee does. Milwaukee's actually kind of weak against lefties, right? Yeah,
Yeah, they
Milwaukee's
strike out a ton
so
against lefties.
Anderson might be the pay down there instead of the question of whether or not Manoah can return to form. That's not what it is. It's more to me. It's about okay. If I'm going to pay down, I'll just pay down to Anderson because I know the Brewers suck against lefties.
Well, what's the saying, Howard? The immovable object versus
The
the
irresistible force meeting the immovable object.
yeah. Tyler Anderson has been a cast can. I mean,
Yeah,
nothing like he was last year
nothing
for the
like he was.
Dodgers. All like every out is a fly ball out. 5 home runs in 4 starts. Like he's just getting shelled. And now you get a team who has struggled against lefties. What gives? Because other than Coors, this was one of 2 games with 9 implied runs. So like Vegas at least thinks that this game is likely going to, and to be honest, Wade Miley has been a pretty good pitcher. So what does that say? What does that suggest to Tyler Anderson, right? Like, is Vegas telling us something like, okay, this run expectancy is 9,
Forget
but
the run expectancy. Let's what they've got Milwaukee as a minus 130 favorite in this one.
they're
So
you know what?
they're banking more on Miley than Anderson. But you know what? Angels at plus 105. That's not terrible, dude. That's not an
No,
overwhelming favorite. So Vegas is kind of like, yeah, Anderson has kind of sucked, but you still have the Angels offense. It's Wade Miley and I'm telling you, man. I think it's a possibility. I might, I won't put it out as a best bet, but I'll probably sprinkle a little something on the Angels at plus 105.
at home or on the road actually. So yeah, that's interesting.
Only because I mean, we're at that point in the season, right, where a guy who's off to a really great start, he's gonna have his bad outing. It's
Right.
gonna come, and possibly a guy turning it around against a weak lineup.
I'm just looking at some expected numbers for Tyler Anderson too, just to well, we can close on this here. Things don't look good for him right now. Which before opening this, I anticipated maybe some positive regression was on the downswing. Howard 318 BABIP suggests there hasn't really been bad luck. He's just getting hit hard. His ERA 7.20, expected ERA of 6. His xFIP is a 6.42. 48% fly ball rate is the highest mark of his career. I don't. It's a little scary.
It's not pretty.
It's a little scary. I personally would probably take the shot on Manoah for 400 more because I think he just might have more upside at his price point. But obviously, I'm not going to be alone there. I think Manoah is going to be a popular. I think that people are going to see the price tag and they'll be like, oh, well, this guy's a 9K pitcher when he's going good. So,
Yeah.
um, anything below, like you could just say no and we could just move on. Rich Hill, 5,800. He's
Yeah, I'll
been
just I'll just say no and move on.
no great. Let's move on. Let's head to
Especially
catch.
Rich Hill against Washington. Washington's gonna screw him over, dude. He's gonna screw him over.
Well, I will say, John and I profiled it on the Thursday night live stream. When you see those numbers for against left-handed pitching for the Washington Nationals, you'd be surprised. Top 11 in OPS and 8th in WOBA against left-handed pitching going into Thursday night. So Washington a little better there, I think, than probably anticipated. Let's head over to catcher, as you said. Of the guys 4K and up, JT Realmuto gets a tough spot. Sean Murphy, I think, is in a very exploitable matchup against David Peterson. What do you like 4K and above? For me, it looks like it's Murphy, but Jonah Heim against Clark Schmidt. Clark Schmidt has been
Bad.
bad. And I know there was a lot of expectations for Schmidt, at least to be a serviceable back of the rotation, long reliever type pitcher. He's just not good.
Yeah, I tell you, man, I'm really not into paying up at catcher.
I
I mean,
agree.
I don't want to sound like a broken record because I think I said this on the last stream that I was on. I just I don't see like them being that big of a difference maker. Yeah, Murphy could have a great game, absolutely. But when I sit there and I look at it, I would probably start with Jonah Heim
Okay.
at 4,200, and then work my way down from there probably.
Yeah, I mean, I'm typically the same. There are exceptions to the rules sometimes, like when you get an expensive catcher in cores. I do like Murphy against lefties. If you're doing a Brave stack, I think, if one of your pitchers is $7,700 Max Fried, like you're gonna have money likely to spend. We'll see. But I agree. Typically, I'm living in the punt range as well. Where is that for you, Howard? Like, who's your favorite guy? I mean, Gabriel Moreno is probably the chalk of the night, right? 3,300 in cores against Kyle Freeland. Is that like our chalk
Oh
catcher?
yeah. That's crazy that he's down there and price up. I was like about to say William Contreras.
I also
Um,
love William Contreras.
against Anderson. But yeah, you're pointing me towards Marino against. I mean, listen, Kyle Freeland is good. He's rock solid, but
He has been
Marino is, he's a good quality hitter, and he's actually been playing a lot better lately.
sure
Um,
has.
at the plate. I mean, he's hit what safely in 4 out of his last 5 games, couple of multi-hit games in that range.
Yep,
So yeah, I mean, I like that for him, just matchup wise, and you know what, and you are getting some exposure to course.
exactly. And I'll say 4 of his last 4 starts because he didn't start that one San Diego game where he didn't hit. I'll just take that one off the board because he only had one at bat. Who's to say he doesn't go 3 for 4 in that game if he doesn't start? Howard.
Well, who's to
Um,
say who's to say he doesn't go 0 for 4 in that game, James?
I guess no one. We move on to Shane Langoliers, who continues to just belt home runs like every other day.
Yeah, Sessa. I
I
wish this
mean,
game. I wish this
dude,
game was being played in Cincinnati.
I was just thinking that because then, like, you have Coors and Coors Jr., and I would just pick Coors Jr. and just be super contrarian with Oakland because I told every start that Luis Sessa has been on a main slate this year. I'm like, I don't like for whoever hasn't watched the Yankees over the last few years, like, this is not a starting pitcher. Like, he was never a starting pitcher, and Cincinnati is trying to make him into something that he's not, and he's getting shelled. Righties are hitting him hard. They have a 407 WOBA. Lefties are hitting him hard. They have a 550 WOBA. Anybody that steps into the plate against Sessa is a threat, even if it is Oakland. Langoliers is kind of a monster in the power department. At least lately, 3 home runs in his last 5 games.
That is, yeah. I mean, listen, I would definitely, yeah. I mean, I'd give him a look. Sure, absolutely. I mean, if you just, if you're paying down a catcher, if you're building multiple lineups, I think you could get exposure to both him and Marino, right? I mean, you're not spending any money for it.
I think Kybert Ruiz probably in play. He's been pretty good lately. He's been hitting anywhere from second to fifth in the last week. Every night it's second, third. He hit fourth on Thursday. I like Kybert Ruiz 29. Anybody else? Francisco Alvarez 2,600. He gets freed. That's a tough spot for him. Can't play Yankees catchers against deGrom. Is there
No.
anything, or I mean, we don't probably need to go any further anyway.
Yeah, I don't really feel like the need to go that much further down.
Then let's shift on over to first base, where
Let's
Shohei Otani is still
still
listed.
listed.
Still listed. Which again, I like it only because the Angels have 5 guys already listed as outfielders. Ward, Renfro, Otani, Trout. They have Ringjifo in the outfield as a platoon player now. Like, so at least you could get exposure somewhere else. Otani 63, Vladdy 6K. He has a tough spot. We've talked about Freed facing the Mets, Alonso 59, Goldschmidt double dong the other night, Matt Olson in the lefty spot, Freddie Freeman 51. That rounds out your 5K and up tier.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really love any of the matchups
Same.
actually.
I don't love any of them at
I
all.
really don't. I
Nope.
mean, lefty on lefty with Olsen, no. Goldie, still, I'm still, the Cardinals lineup still needs to prove to me that it can hit consistently.
Yep.
Freeman against Flaherty is probably like out of that group. I think Freeman against Flaherty is probably the one that I like the most. It's not
I don't
really
like any
saying
of them.
much, is it?
I don't like any of them.
So
I don't.
let's move.
Yeah. I mean, you could play Freeman. I think that's fine, but I don't think you need to go there. I think we have some interesting guys the next year. Yandy Diaz is absolutely insane. Hit his seventh home run on Thursday night. Might be more than he's hit in the last 4 years combined. We have to check that. But the muscles are finally paying off for Yandy Diaz. 4,900 gets a good matchup against Giolito. CJ Crone in cores. He's historically been better against lefties. Last year was a reverse splits guy, though. Merrill Kelly also has been a reverse splits guy over the last couple of years. I think the CJ Crone play is interesting. But I think Nathaniel Lowe against Clark Schmidt could be leaving the yard here. I know the power hasn't been on full display. Neither has really anything for Lowe lately, but hits in 405. I really like Lowe. What say you, Howard?
I do like Low, and I have a feeling that you're leaning towards a Texas Rangers stack, which will be interesting to say the least.
Yeah,
Um, right? You're like, I'm going Nate Lowe and Jonah Heim
it's
and
Nathaniel, Howard. It's Nathaniel.
Nathaniel.
Okay, he changed
I'm
his
not
name. He changed his name halfway through last year. We gotta respect it. Okay.
Sorry, Nathaniel. My bad. My bad. I like the Crone play, obviously. Yandy Diaz is gonna make me. I mean, it's fantasy receipts is gonna come after me about some dude asked me about Yandy Diaz. And it's like a week into the season. I was like, it's like a week into the season, and Yandy Diaz is suddenly like gonna have a breakout campaign in his age 31
Right.
season, like all of a sudden. And and we've been watching him, and he really has he's basically all he's done is just taken steps to increase his launch angle.
Yep.
He's an
Yep.
on-base machine no matter what, and he does that. Now all of a sudden he's increased his launch angle, and he's not sitting there striking out a bunch while he's doing it. He's actually, you know, legitimate. I mean, how many is he going to top out at? I don't know. Um, but listen, we know that Giolito can blow up. We did see him pitch well recently, but I'd probably, if I'm looking at this right now, I might as well just say, you know what? Let me get my exposure to cores. Let me get CJ Crone, and throw him in there. I've got maybe Marino on the other side as my catcher. Maybe I could do like a mini stack on each side to get that cores exposure, but without like over investing.
Well, I was gonna ask, and we could just go to him now at $3,800. Christian Walker sits here,
Oh yeah.
starting to come alive.
He doesn't hit lefties well, does
Uh,
he?
that is the strong split for Christian
Is
Walker, at
that the
least from the
strong split for him?
from the power side. He has a 350 WOBA against lefties this year. I'm gonna pull up last year's numbers. It was
Well,
power.
I'm gonna go to his career. At least his career will tell you what he's where he really favors. And I want to shout out to my friends over at Fangraphs. They are
Yep,
super awesome, and I absolutely love them.
literally
Um,
a site that you can get lost in for countless amount of hours.
Countless amount of hours. All right, so actually, look at that, man. Career 334 WOBA against lefties. Career 330 WOBA against righties. It's the power, the isolated power. 205 for against righties. 191 for against lefties. So he hits
Last year,
them pretty evenly.
yeah. So I mean, 3,800 has been better of late. We get the course field boost. Now he's no Brennan Drury, who's also 3,800, but
Ah,
he's no
yeah, but
Brennan
you
Drury.
could use Drury at second. I know you
You can
want to
use
use
Drury,
him.
but you can use Drury a second. So, but what do you? So, if we were building this lineup, Crone is 49. Would you rather Crone 49 or Christian Walker 38 going up against Kyle Freeland?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I need to see I need to see an Arizona lineup. Like, where can Marino and Walker get paired together?
So I think we're likely going to see Walker hit fourth and Moreno hit seventh. That's at
Yeah,
least
see,
been
that kind of blows.
it does. It also depends on who they're going to hit after. I know they've been hitting Longoria in the middle of those two. So if we were to go with a full core stack when we get to third, Evan Longoria could be someone who's been pretty good against lefties in his past few seasons, despite you know obviously being long on the tooth. Uh, just throwing it out there. We don't have to go Christian Walker, but I found it interesting. $1,100 from Crone to Christian Walker in maybe a better spot.
But listen, that's something that I'll definitely like. That's the thing. I'll look into that when the lineups post tomorrow and I see what we've got going on for this game, because yeah, I mean there are a couple of things that Arizona could do, and I'd be interested to see how they set this lineup up. Like, where are they going to put Corbin Carroll? Are they going to drop him to like seventh in the lineup again because it's against the lefty like Freeland, or are they going to continue to hit him in the middle of that lineup? So maybe we get a little break that Marino gets a bump up a little bit and maybe hits fifth.
Well, he should, anyways.
It's wishful thinking, but
He should, anyways. To be honest, because he's been one of their best hitters recently. Anything else at first that we missed? Josh Naylor, 3,500. Going
no,
down
no,
the
don't give me
list.
the rock the baby, dude. I hate the rock the baby, dude.
Moose. What about is John asks me this every time we have cores, and he goes, "Is the moose on the loose tonight, James?" And I just always tell him no, but I'll just ask you, like, Howard, is the moose on the loose tonight?
I
You
don't
can
think so,
just,
Bob.
yeah, yeah, not a great play, Bob. Not a great play.
Not great,
Uh,
Bob. Not great.
um, I don't think there's anything else down
I don't
here
think
that
there's
we need to
anything
talk
else there
about.
at first base either.
So let's head on over to second, where Marcus Simeon is ridiculously priced, but he's in one of those stretches right now where he's kind of just hitting everything out of the ballpark. He's stealing bases, and again, we get this. This is like we get Christmas and Thanksgiving, once a year each time. Like, he has his Christmas month and his Thanksgiving month, and everything's great for those 2 months. April is one of those months this year, Howard. I mean, would you pay 59 for because
Well, not
I
if
mean,
I'm going with Lowe and Heim also.
true.
How many
Well,
Texas Rangers am I going to get in here? You know,
so here, you're
and I got to
right.
tell you, man, they really haven't been. The Texas Rangers have not been impressive. I mean, their bullpen's atrocious,
Their bullpen's
absolutely
atrocious.
atrocious. I'm so pissed off about that. But
Yeah,
their offense hasn't been like tearing the cover off the ball. They were in Cincinnati and they weren't. It wasn't like they were like lighting it up like a
right.
pinball machine.
Lefties are what give Clark Schmidt all the issues anyway. Lefties with a 385 average, a 1200 OPS, 518 WOBA against. So if I'm getting Rangers, it's probably lefties. What about Cotel Marte 52? Just probably priced too
Yeah, it's
high
too.
for
That's
us.
too much for me there.
What about the rest of the position? Ooh, I got it. I love using Ozzy Albies against lefties.
Oh, Albie's
I
against the lefties a must, right?
love using Albie.
43. But what
Yeah,
are you going to do, man? How are you going to get Brandon Drury into your lineup if Ozzy Albies is only 4,300 and you want to get, a little Christian Walker at 30 some odd hundred for at first base? How are
I
you going to
just
get Brandon Drury into your lineup?
I just play multiple lineups. That's the only explanation. You don't stop at one, Howard. For a guy who usually plays single entries, I'm playing a three max on
Oh, there it
playing a
is.
three max
Playing the
on
three. All
Friday.
right. So you're playing the three max. How much do you have exposure to Drury in two of the three lineups or only one of the three lineups?
Probably one, because Wade Miley's been pretty good. He's been hard to hit against. I'll use Jury in my one non cores, probably in my cores fade. and I'll probably play Coors in 2. Like if I'm building 3 lineups, that's probably how I would break it down, where I would get exposure to both sides of Coors in my 2 lineups and then fade Coors, or maybe play a one-off, like a Gabriel Moreno in my 3rd lineup where I would use Drury. So, um, because you know what? It's been an interesting Coors year, not to get sidetracked too much, but people always fade the Rockies, and I get it because they suck. But like, there's just this added step of offense in Coors, and the Rockies are always forgotten about. So I've been doing my diligence, and that brings me to Ryan McMahon here at 4,600 as well, where I know for a fact when we look at the ownership percentages, it's going to be the top of the list is going to be Arizona, 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 pitcher, 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 Arizona, Arizona, one Rocky, and then you know. But that's what I always just fall back on. Like I need like I tell myself I need to get more Rockies exposure in cores, and that's usually what I try to do if I'm especially if I'm playing core slates where I'm playing multiple lineups.
Well,
Uh,
I don't mind it, man. Like we talked about the mini stack of Crone, right? Who was going to pair with him, right? McMahon hits behind him in the lineup
yep,
a bunch, so why not just grab those two guys there, and all of a sudden you've got that again. That's the mini stack, and then just
right,
leave the rest of it alone. Like too many people sit there and they try to not so much game stack, but they just kind of get just a little crazy, a little out of whack sometimes, just because it's cores.
agreed. And I do think certain of I mean Kyle Freeland's been pretty good at home for what it's worth. The
Hmm.
numbers suggest that he was going to regress, and he did. But his first 2 starts at cores were excellent. Speaking at cores, Geraldo Perdomo continues to be very good for the Diamondbacks. He's a switch hitter. If he cracks the lineup, would Perdomo at 4K interest you, or is that too pricey?
Uh,
Yeah, I think so too.
it's too pricey.
Um, what about under 4K? We do have Brennan Drury. I do think he's in a good spot. Look, he has been awesome against lefties. It just is what it is. He hits lefties. He can't do anything else. Like, he's not someone I'm playing against a righty, but 4 straight multi-hit games with 4 home runs and a boatload of RBIs. He's probably in the player pool. Um, Jaquan Bay
I was just gonna point out Bay
he
actually,
had a
yeah, against
couple,
Chad Cool.
yeah, a revenge narrative for Chad Cool. Howard, don't forget, ex Pirate great. Um,
Right?
five.
How mad is Chad Cool, right? He's like this
I know.
team sucked so badly when I pitched for them, and now all of a sudden I got to go up against them, and they're like what 17 and
The
8 or
best,
something
yeah,
like
the
that.
second best record in baseball.
Like if I were Chad Cool, I would be pissed. The problem is that it doesn't really matter. He just sucks as a pitcher
He
anyway.
does suck as a pitcher, and as we've seen, righty on the mound, J1 Pei is going to swipe a bag. If he is on base, he has had 2 multi-stolen base games in his last 3, and I'll just say the last 2 that he started because he didn't play on Thursday. At least he didn't get any official at bats. 3,600 multi-position eligibility. I love that. Where else, Howard? Anything else down here in the depths of second base?
In the depths of second base. No, I don't really think that there's anything. I'm kind of scrolling down there and looking. I don't know. I mean, is Bryce Terang even playing anymore?
Yeah, but he
He's not
doesn't.
hitting well against lefties.
Yeah, he's not hitting well against lefties. He's not hitting well against anybody.
Anybody.
143 over his last 10. Um, the Dodgers did call up Michael Bush, top 50 consensus prospect in baseball. He's been hitting fifth, sixth, seventh in his first few games, but hasn't really been great. But as you mentioned, the Dodgers having a little midst of a little bit of a crisis here.
What about your
Uh,
boy Diaz against Luis Sessa?
I mean,
Diaz cost me money tonight when he knocked in that last RBI for Oakland that killed my run line bet for the Angels.
he's good. I mean, he's a good little hitter.
He's
He
good
was
unless we mini stack him with
yes,
Estuary Ruiz.
yeah, of course. The next that yes, I believe the following day Brent Rooker double dong, and Jesus Aguilar double dong. So we were correct with that there was a pair of athletics to use. We did not pick the correct athletics.
So weird that we would have used the two lightest hitting players, right? I mean, so weird that we would go that way. We'll get our points in stolen bases, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
Someone who is probably not going to steal a base over at third is Rafael Devers. He's just going to hit the ball out of the ballpark. Someone who could steal a base, Jose Ramirez. He could also hit the ball out of the ballpark.
I love him against Nick Pivetta.
So do I. So do I. 5,700. Obviously has the platoon advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Great ballpark to hit in Fenway. And it's one of the three game environments with 9 implied runs or higher. So, love Jose Ramirez. He's probably the guy for me. Austin Riley, though, is a really close second. I know Riley's been pretty dreadful of late, but the power just always plays, and David Peterson has been getting shelled lately.
David Peterson, the only lefty to not be able to mow down the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, he's pretty bad.
Mind-numbing. The Giants can't hit lefties for anything. They're striking out over 30% against them, and David Peterson goes in and serves up like a bunch of home runs and whatever. So I'm fine. I'm fine with Austin Riley in a potential double dong potential moment here.
Are you put pen to paper there? Double dong for Austin Riley? Is that what I heard?
I won't put pen to paper on that.
Rest of the third base position, this next tier is McMahon we mentioned. I think he's in play, but Bregman 44 against Nola is fine. Eugenio Suarez, I think, is fine, but he's been pretty bad since the beginning of the year. We don't know if Josh Jung's going to play. Wasn't in the lineup on Thursday. Not going to play LeMahieu against deGrom. It probably brings us to this next 3 guys: Brian Hayes, Anthony Rendon, Evan Longoria. Hayes has been pretty good of late. Stolen base equity for him, probably hitting atop that lineup. Rendon has also been slowly coming around. Hits in 3 of 4, 8 or more fantasy points in 4 straight games. And then I mentioned it to you before, Evan Longoria gets a lefty. He's probably going to hit 5th for them in cores. I'm trying to see if, considering how long Longoria has been around and considering how long Freeland.
Are you looking for BVP data?
I'm not a BVP guy whatsoever, but I just wanted to see if there was anything significant in this game. Longoria hitting 333 against lefties. He's 11 for 34 with 2 bombs against
in his career against Freeland.
11 for 34, 2 bombs. That's a 324 average. He also has a 410 WOBA against him.
Well, there's your pairing with Marino. So you got McMahon and Crone on one side, Marino, Longoria in the other.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I like the price. He's hitting lefties well, and he has a rooted history against Kyle Freeland here. So Longo at 4K seems pretty good. Probably a little more expensive.
Should I be building a lineup here?
Yeah, we probably should have, but we're too far. We're already at third. We'll go back to it.
Okay.
Any value? I don't. So Arizona did call up Emmanuel Rivera. If he does start, 2 for 3 on Wednesday in Wednesday's game, has an RBI. I actually liked Emmanuel Rivera when they traded for him last year. He looked pretty good in an Arizona Diamondbacks jersey. If he made the lineup over Longo or was in the lineup with Longo, would Rivera at 2,600 be of interest to you, Howard?
I don't really know enough about the player to say that. I mean, again, if I'm paying down, if he is even going to start, like that's the thing, right? So if he's gonna start, then that means that Longo's not.
Or they're DHing Longo,
one or the other. Then I'll see who's hitting next to Marino. But I mean, let's say that that Longo's not in the lineup and it is Rivera. Listen, that's a decent pay down. Then you're saving some money. What do you Damn, you're saving a bunch of money. You're saving
Yep.
$1,400 on the position. So I'd be interested in it. Sure.
Let me give you some numbers last year for Rivera. Against lefties, it's 119 plate appearance sample. So decent, right? Like a decent
That's good
decent
sample
sample.
size.
464 slug, 783 OPS, 200 ISO, 339 WOBA against Southpaws.
Really,
Pretty good, pretty good numbers
those are pretty good
against
numbers.
lefties. $2,600. So be on the lookout for Emmanuel Rivera. They probably send Pavin Smith to the bench against a lefty. So look out for Longo DHing, Rivera playing third. We'll see how things shake out, but worth mentioning. I would love to play Brett Beatty coming off the home run on Thursday. Probably doesn't crack the lineup with the lefty, but maybe they just say, you know what, screw it. At this point, what is Eduardo Escobar providing us, right?
Yeah, I hear you, but
Right.
I probably wouldn't pay down for him just given the matchup with Freed. I think Beatty will chop it into the ground,
Yep.
every
Yep.
time.
Yeah, I think Rivera is probably enough for our spend down liking there. So let's head to shortstop, where again, chock full of top guys. I don't know if you see the fourth one down there, Howard. Mookie Betts with shortstop eligibility
Oh,
now.
see, that's terrible.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
terrible. You can't do that in DFS.
what's worse?
Well,
Otani with first base.
why doesn't he have second base eligibility then?
Well, he did, and then he played short for a game and a half, and they gave him the shortstop eligibility.
But see,
Um,
that's the thing. Like he's played what? He's played 7 games at second base, and he's only made 2 appearances at
yep,
shortstop.
yep.
So
What's
why is DraftKings changing his position again?
what's worse, Otani at first or Mookie Betts at short?
That's just that to me. That's just that's I don't know. It's stupidity on DraftKings part, and it's the laziness of having Otani with first base eligibility.
Yeah, I think that's
Like that's just
finagling.
lazy.
That's kind of a manipulation of the system,
Or
personally.
just don't give him outfield eligibility.
Right,
Don't give him
right.
multi-position eligibility like that.
Yeah, I agree. If this wasn't Jack Flaherty, Mookie Betts would be extremely popular with this dual eligibility. But around him, Bo Bichette, tough spot. Trey Turner, tough spot. Willie Adames historically better against right-handed pitchers than lefties, but Tyler Anderson has been a gas can so far. I think if I'm using someone over 5K, it's probably Wander Franco 5,200. But
Yeah, yeah.
I also don't feel the need to get up to Wander Franco. Like
No,
if you can, I think it's perfectly fine. But do we need to?
I don't think so. I mean, I really don't think you need to do that. Like you said, Bichette and Turner, not great matchups. Adamas better against righties. Betts against Flaherty is meh. Franco is probably the best guy there, but no, I would probably look to. I'm gonna end up. I'm gonna spend down probably over here. Where I'm spending down though, that I'm not really sure because as I look through it, it's like yeah, Lindor against Freed. Okay. Um, I don't necessarily. I mean, maybe you get Ahmed Rosario in there, but
Eh, eh.
yeah, for
I don't know what the
43, that
upside.
seems pricey.
Yeah, I don't know what the upside is there.
I'm not using Volpe. We've talked Perdomo to death. I'm not using Kike Hernandez. Edmund against May isn't a great thing. Rodolfo Castro against Chad Cool at
He's good.
38. That
I
might have
love
some appeal.
I love Rodolfo Castro, but another guy kind of that falls in that Brandon Drury category for me, where he just mashes lefties. He had another
Ah,
home run
okay.
against Julio Urias. Now, would I use him against a righty? I don't hate it, but he is just historically a monster against lefties. The numbers against lefties were like actually elite last year in terms of power. So,
So
um,
where do you want to go for shortstop?
Vaughn Grissom, I think 3,400 if I'm using a Brave stack. I know he hasn't been the guy, like, it's been all singles for Vaughn Grissom, but that wasn't the case last year. Starting to get his footing, hitting hits in 3 straight, 5 of 6 overall. There's been runs batted in. I think the Braves could score a boatload of runs on Friday slate, so I like that. I also kind of sneakily like Nick Ahmed, who's been a historically good batter against lefties as well. Um, Not exciting. Like I think Grissom has more upside than Ahmed, but I would punt Ahmed. Another guy. who has hit lefties 296 average this year against lefties, which is par for the course for him throughout his career.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't hate it. It's definitely a pay down. This position's not as attractive
No,
as it usually is.
no. But you know what position is attractive, Howard? The
The
outfield
outfield?
position. Ronald Acuna, who honestly at this point I just am petitioning. I want him to be 7K. I want people to actually have to think about using this guy because he has been that good. It's like the other night, within 2 pitches, he hit a double, stole a base, and scored a run. Literally within like the first 3 pitches of the game. It's like, okay, that's unfair. And like he has the ability to do that 3 times a game. I'm perfectly fine getting to Acuna. He's probably my favorite spend up. Talk to me about the talk to me about some of these guys over 5K. Kudos to DraftKings for what we've said so far. Kudos to DraftKings for making Corbin Carroll 5,300. I'm happy to see that because
Yeah,
he has been far too cheap all year long.
yeah, and of course on a day that you're not going to use them against the lefty,
I
but okay, thank you,
know.
DraftKings.
Right.
Obviously, Trout against Wade Miley, I like a lot. I wouldn't be against that at all. Julio Rodriguez, again, I can't complain about him. Um, you know, uh, Adolis Garcia
I mean,
just staring me right in the face. But
he had one of
5,600, dude.
well, this is why. This is why right here. 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, 68 fantasy points. When you listen, I know, I understand, but when you have that upside, you just get priced in a tier that we're uncomfortable paying, and it just is what it is, right? Like it just is what it is. Like you have 60-point upside, you are now the most expensive player on the slate. Good day, sir. Like that's just what we deal with, you know? Like
I said good day, sir.
so we're like, yeah, it's a pretty good spot. Probably can't get there.
Probably can't get there.
I like I don't hate Chris Bryant 52, and I mentioned that because we're slowly getting Chris Bryant back to where he was when he was healthy prior to last year. 3 straight multi-hit games. Finally hit a home run in Coors Field. That was like, when was Chris Bryant ever gonna hit a home run in Coors Field? Who knows?
Right?
Um, so I don't hate Chris Bryant 52. I'm just kind of struggling with where else to go. Brian Reynolds 5K, or is that too pricey, Howard? Chad Cool.
Again, I think yeah, that's too pricey. It
Agreed.
really is because I mean Reynolds. I mean, you got to look at a guy like Reynolds. Like what is he going to produce on the year? And he's like a 20 to 25 home run bat. There's nothing really that spectacular about it. I mean, he's a good hitter. He gets on base. But he's not really. How much is he really kicking into the counting stats? So I look at it like that, and then I'm like, all right, it's an okay matchup. It's not a great matchup. For 5K, it's still a little on the pricey side for me. I mean, especially, trying to build a lineup that, A, gets deGrom in there, B,
Right.
gives you some cores exposure, or C, if you even want to think about Acuna at 6,500. I mean,
Right.
you are definitely talking about a tier that I am not able to afford.
Well, let's go down the list then, and let's just start taking a look at cheaper outfielders because I agree. DeGrom, Acuna alone costs you the world and then some, right? So if that's the pairing you want to go with, um, what are we looking at? I mean, Eloy is 35. That's obviously an elite price, but the matchup isn't great. Brent Rooker has been an absolute freak of nature in terms of power. Do we dare? Are me and you just the Oakland fan club? Stone Garrett.
No, I can't do it. I won't do it. I won't
Um,
do it.
I think someone that could be interesting, and I'm looking for him here. 2,600 Alex Call. He led off for Washington on Thursday. Homered
Uh-huh.
as well. Has been pretty good against lefties this year, hitting over 300. Another big game, as I mentioned. Again, not like a plug and play, but we're talking about needing value to get two very expensive players in. Anything else in this value tier, Howard, that like really like speaks to you?
You know what? I'm looking up a player right now. I like the call.
Nice,
All right. See what I did
nice.
there? That wasn't bad, but wait a second. Let me see if this is what I'm looking at. No, okay. So no, I'm not looking at anything there. Nope, never mind. I'm not even gonna mention the player's name.
Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about
I'm
it.
not even gonna
I
say it.
know it was
I
Tucapito
can't even say
Marcano.
it. I can't do it.
I know it was Tucapito Marcano. It's okay. Um, yeah, I mean, like, there's not a lot to like. Yeah, I just don't necessarily see much, and maybe there's something that will pop. Luis Rengifo here, 2,900 multi-position eligibility. A story where we Jalen Duran has been pretty awesome, to be honest, for Boston, but he has a tough matchup against Justin Bieber. And yes, I said Justin Bieber on purpose. Um,
What about you know what? What about Jose Siri? You were talking about call. Siri's like right in that price range also.
Yeah, Jose Siri is good, especially if you're playing Tampa. And usually Siri hitting ninth, you get the little wraparound stack too if you want
Mm-hmm.
to play Siri. So I usually use him against lefties, but he got off to a smoking hot before the
Before
injury.
the
So
injury, right? So he's
yeah,
working his way back, and I
yep,
think he's got the ability to build that momentum.
agreed. So we have a couple minutes left. So why don't we build? I'll plug Moreno in. I think we both consensus said that was our punt catcher. We're gonna go deGrom, I think, right? At least we're gonna try to go deGrom. And then, what did you want to do SP2? Did you want to go Max Fried 77? Like that just feels too cheap. But like,
I thought we were gonna go Manoa.
okay, I like Manoa. No, I like Manoa. I don't get me wrong. I have no problem getting to Manoa. I just wanted to. I'm just gauging the gauging your thoughts here. Christian Walker was our first baseman. Or did we want to go Crone? We wanted to go
I
Crone
think yeah,
McMahon,
We went Crone,
Crone
McMahon at
McMahon,
second. We
Longo at
put
third.
Longo at third. You're in love with Nick Ahmed, so we're gonna plug we're gonna plug in a 3-man stack
Oh
for
boy.
Arizona.
Oh boy.
We're gonna try and get Acuna in there, and now we need
Oh no.
like
We
the
need
bottom of the barrel. Jose Siri and Alex Call.
good call. Good call. Right
There
on
it is.
time.
That's the $1 million lineup, my friend.
$1 million lineup for anyone listening over on Spotify, on fantasyalarm.com, iTunes, Stitcher, Jacob deGrom, Alec Manoa, Gabriel Moreno, CJ Crone, Ryan McMahon, Evan Longoria, Nick Ahmed, Ronald Acuna Jr., Alex Call, Jose Siri. That'll do it for Howard and I here on the Better Baseball MLB DFS podcast. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Eastern with the live stream. John and Pemba and I, Howard will not, but Howard will be on the Sirius XM show, I think, at the same time as us, right?
And I've got the Value Vault article coming out.
And the Value Vault article is all on Howard Bender's shoulders, putting a lot on his back per usual. That'll do it for us. We'll catch you guys later.